Greetings internet, it's Monica, and today I have a new book haul for you all. This is primarily my book expo and bookcon book haul. However, I do have a couple of books that I recently purchased, so I also want to talk about those. So I'm just going to jump on in because this is actually a larger amount of books than I thought it was going to be. Like I said, I've recently purchased a couple of books. So the first one, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I've talked about it a lot in my last couple of videos, and that is Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. And this is a Korean paranormal contemporary story set in Seoul. Follows Gumiyoung, who is a gumyo, which is a nine-tailed fox that eats the souls of men. And yeah, I'm so excited for this one. I bought it because I'm reading it for a Koreadathon, and I was able to go to her signing at Books of Wonder. So I also got it signed, which was exciting. So I'm so excited for this read and to read this book for the Koreadathon, which I think will either be happening by the time this video goes up or will have already happened. Not 100% sure, but very excited for this. Then I also recently picked up Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is a historical fiction story, but with like Greek mythology elements to it. So initially I was not super interested in picking this book up because of the cover. The cover just sort of looks like the kind of book that I don't typically like, you know? So every time I saw the cover, I was like, probably not for me. But I've been hearing really, really good things about this book over the past like couple of weeks, and I feel like I've just become more and more intrigued about it. So, and then especially once I like learned the full premise of the story, I was just sold. So the beginning of this book, Hephaestus catches Aphrodite having an affair with Ares, the Greek god of war, and he puts them on trial for adultery, and she ends up beginning to tell these two stories, these like stories of love, sort of to like fight in the case of love. And like it's just so beautifully written, and there are so many lines already that I've highlighted. Everything else are books that I got from Book Expo and bookcon. So if you are not familiar with Book Expo and bookcon, they are these big events that happen typically in New York City. Book Expo is an industry event, so it is an event that you have to apply to attend, and it's mostly people who work in the industry. So it's people who are booksellers, librarians, printers, people from the publishing houses, people from translators, so like a wide variety of like all the different levels of publishing attend this event. And then a small part of the event is also about hyping up, you know, big releases and getting them in front of booksellers, booktubers, book bloggers, librarians, anyone who can, you know, get the word out about these books that the publishers are excited for. So yeah, that's Book Expo. And then bookcon is the public facing part of the event, and it's basically like Comic-Con but for books. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's much more of an emphasis on like panels for readers who are fans, and events like that. So it's sort of the two events I've attended for like the past 5 years, which is wild to me. I did not go hard during Book Expo this year. Honestly, I would say mostly all of the books except for like one are books that other people got for me because I skipped an entire day of Book Expo. And then I also just like went late every day. Like I don't really do, like there are always these like big booktube like photo shoots and things, and I never really make it for those the past couple of years just because I like sleep. I like sleep. They always happen at like 8 a.m. so I just kind of skip them. I didn't really walk the show floor during bookcon much just because it's very overwhelming. I just can't handle crowds like that. But I did attend, one of my favorite panels was definitely Rainbow Rowell's panel that my friend Kat got to moderate, and it was just such a good discussion, and it made me so excited for Wayward Son. Oh, so good. And honestly, like I wish all panels were like that, where they were moderated by people who like legitimately are fans, because I feel like so often like not like panels or Q&As, things like that, they're what's what I'm looking for, they're like hosted by a journalist or someone who's like, you know, they're not really part of the fandom. And it was great, like, having someone who really loves Rainbow Rowell's stories actually be able to, like, talk to her, because, you know, then as an audience member, I feel like you get more out of it. So that was great. Kat was wonderful. I also got to be on a panel at Book Expo this year, which was my first time being on a panel since the first panel at BookCon 5 years ago. It was like 2014, I think. It was the very first BookTube panel ever at BookCon. And that was really cool way back then. So we did that. And then, so this is my first time on a panel again. And I loved it. I loved that it was like an industry panel. It was just really cool. It was like during the audiobooks, there's like a sort of sub-conference that happens during Book Expo that's specific to audiobook publishers. And so I did a panel all about, like, I think it was like influencers, or like, yeah, how influencers help people discover audiobooks. But I liked it because it wasn't just like social media people. It was myself sort of talking about like the social media side of things, but then also one of the head librarians for Long Island, or the head librarian for Long Island, and then this other woman who works in publishing but also runs this like really large book club. And then it was moderated by Macmillan. I left it just really excited about audiobooks, and excited about the format, and just everyone who was there I just thought was so like excited. And like, I just feel like there's so much cool stuff happening within the audiobook world, and I love reading via audiobook. So yeah, that's my like Book Expo experience. It's just great getting to see friends. Honestly, like, what I use Book Expo for is really about connecting with like new friends and old friends, and then also like just discovering the books that are like getting buzzed about. Like, I don't really feel a huge need to get every single book, but it's just good to like learn about like what are the books that everyone's excited for, that publishers are really excited for, just because then I can like have that in the back of my head. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the books that I did pick up, which is more than I thought. So the first one I want to talk about is one that I am so excited for. I just got this. Actually, I just got it today, but I'm counting it as a Book Expo haul for a reason I will explain in a second. But I screamed when I opened that package and saw what was inside, and it is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Wow! I'm so excited for this book. This is one of my most anticipated books of this entire year. I love Leigh Bardugo so much, and I love the premise of this book. So this book takes place in Yale. It is a new adult fantasy novel following our main character, who has like, they're basically part of some sort of like horrific event, like murder, and they end up getting somehow accepted into Yale. Like, they get offered a place at Yale by these mysterious benefactors, and they end up like integrating into the like world of secret societies in Yale, and like all the paranormal stuff that happens. And I'm not doing a good job at explaining this book at all, but I love books about pretentious rich people who do weird kind of almost occult things, like The Secret History by Donna Tartt, or Special Topics in Calamity Physics by Marisha Pessl. Like, I just have a specific genre, like it's a very specific genre, but I love it. So I'm so excited for this book. It's gotten so much hype. Like, so many people have given this book such like rave reviews. Like, really popular fiction fantasy authors, like Lev Grossman said Ninth House is one of the best fantasy novels I've read in years. Kelly Link wrote it's the best thing I've read in a long time, and I've just heard like there are so many good blurbs for this book out there. And I love like secret societies. That is my stuff. That is like, oh, I love a secret society. So I'm so excited for this. It sounds amazing. I'm sorry that I'm like not doing the best job at explaining it, but you've probably heard about it. If you're watching my channel, you probably know enough about Ninth House. The reason why I'm including it in my Book Expo haul is because basically my panel that I was doing at Book Expo was happening during the drop of this book. So Macmillan was very kind enough to send me a copy, which I'm just very happy about. I love Leigh Bardugo so much. So this is like, I have the Create-a-thon happening next week, but as soon as the Create-a-thon is over, this is the very first thing I'm picking up. I'm so excited. Next, I have The Map from Here to There by Emery Lord. I guess I actually didn't get this at BookCon either, or Book Expo. This was one that my roommate Kaylee had gotten, and she gave it to me. I don't think I've ever read an Emery Lord book, but this one sounds really interesting. Basically, it takes place during the senior year of the main character, and she is sort of in this place where she is just like loving life. Like, she has gotten her happily ever after. She has like the best boyfriend, the best friends, like living the greatest life, and she just like doesn't want it to end, and she's very like anxious about like the fact that high school is coming to an end, which I kind of like. I like the idea of like sort of exploring like the after, the happily ever after kind of thing. Then I've got Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahrin. There's this little card that came with this book, and it says, "Get in, witches, we're joining a coven." I just thought that was really funny. But basically, this takes place in a world where magic is real and there are witches. Witches are hunted and burned at the stake by huntsmen, and Louise LeBlanc is our main character, and she gave up her magic when she escaped her coven. But when she goes to the city, she ends up getting this huntsman, one of these witch hunters, involved in a public scandal, and then they have to, I guess, get married, but the huntsman still wants to kill her because she's a witch. And so I think it's like a hate to lovers kind of thing. The cover is beautiful, and I've heard this is one that's like been getting some like early buzz. I've been hearing a lot of like Throne of Glass comparisons, which, I mean, you guys know I'm not a huge Sarah J Maas fan. However, early Throne of Glass books, I really loved them back when they were first starting. Like, I used to be a huge Sailor J Maas fan. Did I say Sailor J Maas? I used to be a huge Sarah J Maas fan. So I am very intrigued for this one. It is a chunky fantasy, and honestly it sounds super angsty, and sometimes I just really want an angsty YA fantasy. You know, like, you're ever in that mood? And I feel like this will be a good one for when I'm in that mood. Then I was given The Prom by Sandra Mitchell with Bob Martin, Chad Bugillen, and Matthew Sklar. So this is actually a novelization of the Prom musical, which is currently on Broadway. It's about to close on Broadway and then tour. And it's also being turned into a film with, they just announced a bunch of the cast, and it's a wild ride of a cast list. I think like Ariana Grande was initially set to play one of the main characters. She's not anymore. That like was killed 6 hours later after the announcement, which is wild. And then Meryl Streep is playing one of the main characters. James Corden, I find his casting kind of weird because he's playing a like middle-aged gay man who is, throughout the musical at least, like dealing with a lot of the like ostracization that he had gone through when he was a child. And so I don't know if I like the idea of James Corden playing that role, because James Corden is not a gay man, you know? This story follows Emma Nolan, who is 17 years old, and she is a lesbian, and she just wants to take her girlfriend to prom, but the PTA in her hometown do not want this to happen. They do not want her to be allowed to bring her girlfriend. And then there's this whole like subplot with like these Broadway stars who are like struggling, and so they want good PR, so they go to this hometown to like try and fight for Emma while also trying to get good PR for themselves. I was given this by Penguin because they took a bunch of us, the invite right here, will you go to the prom with Penguin team? They took a bunch of us to go see the musical. I felt kind of mixed about the musical, to be honest. Like, I really liked some parts. Like, there was one song in it that like I know that like when I was a teen or when I was a kid, like it's the kind of song that I would have like wrapped myself in as like armor, or I would have like played constantly, especially like to all of like the homophobic people in my hometown, and I would have used it in a lot of those fights, even though like I know that it's not gonna like change their minds. The song is like Love Thy Neighbor, I think that's the name of it. It's the kind of song that I feel like is more comforting for someone who is like struggling with the fact that they're like, I don't understand why you have to hate gay people if you're Christian or whatever. And the song is basically like, well, you shouldn't, because that goes against everything the Bible teaches. I really liked that song, and I really loved the two main characters, Emma and Alyssa, the two girls who like the show is based on, the two girls who want to go to prom together. I loved them. And what I didn't love, though, I didn't really particularly love the whole Broadway stars bit, because I just felt like it took away a lot from Emma and Alyssa's story, you know? Like, I wanted them to be more of the main characters of the story. At the same time, I liked what the musical was saying with those Broadway stars, and the whole, like, idea of people coming in to a situation where they don't really know anything, basically trying to use, like, social media and social justice for clout, and not really to, like, actually, like, listen to the people who like need help about like what they actually need, and instead just trying to like insert yourself, you know? So I liked what they were saying. I just didn't think it was like particularly successful. I am intrigued for the book, though, because from my understanding it very much so is really just about Emma and Alyssa. However, during the musical they never say what Alyssa's sexuality is, but according to Twitter, the author changed Alyssa's sexuality from being a lesbian to being pansexual, which is like I can't tell. I don't know. So I'm like, if you guys know, if someone has fact checked this, please let me know, because I can't really figure it out. When I saw it, I just assumed she was like, I just didn't assume her sexuality. I was like, she might be a lesbian too. She might be bi. She might be pan. It's cool to have pan rep, but I also like don't love the idea of having pan rep at the expense of a lesbian, of losing like a lesbian character. So yeah, I don't know how to fully feel about it. I can't really find anything concrete about like what actually happened, so maybe one of you will know better than me. I do know that Emma is still a lesbian in this book, so I don't know. So maybe one of you will know, hopefully. So yeah, I feel kind of mixed about all of the prom related media that is coming out. The book, the musical, and the film. Yeah. Then at Book Expo, I picked up, this is I think the only book that I actually waited in line to get. It's Stargazing by Jen Wang. I love Jen Wang's work. From the synopsis, it basically just sounds like these two friends who grow up in a Chinese American community, and they're best friends, and it's about like their friendship. How many times can I say the word friend? That's what I get from this. It looks really cute. The art style looks like adorable, so I'm excited for that. And then everything else I think were books that other people grabbed for me. So first I have Sabrina, Season of the Witch by Sarah Reese Brennan. This I'm so excited for. So my friend Jessie grabbed this one for me. So thank you so much, Jessie. I'm hyped for this. It is a prequel to the Netflix Sabrina show. So not the comics, even though the show is based off the comics. This is based off of the show. And it's a prequel to that, which I'm really excited for. If you guys don't know, I'm a huge Sabrina fan. Like, it's probably my favorite TV show on air right now. I love Sabrina. So I'm very excited for this. And I'm excited for this in part because even though I loved the first season of Sabrina, there was definitely part of me that kind of wished that we had a bit more history before it just jumped right in. And that's what I guess this is. It's sort of like leading up to those first few episodes. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited for that. Oh, also, Jesse, the best person ever, basically, he got the Illumi Crate box. So he also brought me, I just like need to put this in a haul somewhere, the Nikolai Lantsov calendar, which is beautiful, with the love of my life, Nikolai Lantsov. I love him. And this Nikolai Lantsov plushie. Wow, a king, literally. Yeah. Have I finished King of Scars yet? Sure haven't, but I still love Nikolai Lantsov. We love one blonde king, and it is Nikolai. So now he'll just be in the back of all my videos. Then my friend Michael picked up Permanent Record for me by Mary H.K. Choi. I'm so hyped for this. I loved not Permanent Record. I loved Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. Wow, can I talk? I loved Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. It was one of my favorite books last year, and I'm so excited for her new one. So this book, the sort of overarching theme is that it is a romance novel that explores how social media influences relationships every day. So it follows Pablo Rind, who is an NYU dropout and kind of just doesn't feel like he has a lot going for him. And then you have Liana Smart, who is a social media influencer. And they meet. She's basically used to be a pop idol, and they meet, I assume fall in love, and this is their story, and it sounds really interesting. It starts off at 5 a.m. where they meet at a bodega in the middle of winter and kind of takes off from there, so I'm really intrigued for that. I love stories set in New York. I love Mary H.K. Choi, so hopefully I love this book. Then during BookCon, one of the mornings of BookCon, Simon Teen held a author breakfast in the morning. It was the only morning that I attended BookCon or Book Expo. It's the only time I woke up before 6 a.m. to be honest, was for this one day. So yeah, they invited me to attend, and it was a really cool event. Basically, they had a bunch of us sitting at these different tables, and then so you could either attend if you were invited, or if you won, they did a contest where you could enter to win to be able to attend the breakfast. So they had a bunch of us sitting at these tables. They had 10 tables in total, something like that. And then they brought in a bunch of their authors to basically come and sort of almost like speed date through the tables, where they would go to each table for 10 minutes at a time, and then rotate when the time was up. And we just got to ask them questions. That was really cool. Jenny Han was there, so that was exciting for me. And then Cassandra Clare. Who else? Also this novelist, S.K. Ali, who's the author of From Love from A to Z. So that's where I got this book. They gave us all of the books for all the authors who are attending, but some of them I already had, and some of them I just didn't see myself reading very soon, so I ended up passing them along to just other people who were attending BookCon. I just found random people at BookCon who were like, hey, do you want this book? And pretty much everyone said yes, which was great. So this is the only one I ended up keeping, and I'm so excited for it. I love this cover. I love that we have a girl in a hijab on the cover. I think that's amazing for to have that on the cover of a YA contemporary. I know how important and impactful it was for me to have a Korean American on the cover of Jenny Han's book. So I know that this is probably such a huge deal for so many readers. This follows Zainab, who is a Muslim girl, and her high school teacher keeps one of her teachers just keeps making these comments about how bad Muslims are, and she ends up confronting him and gets suspended because of that. And to sort of just escape all of this horribleness, she ends up flying to her aunt's in Qatar, and on her way there she crosses paths with Adam, and Adam has MS, and he just hasn't been able to attend classes and school in general, and this is their story of meeting each other and their relationship. So it sounds so good, and the author just I loved getting to just hear from her process in writing, her inspirations. That was really interesting and impactful for me, and it just made me so excited to read her book. So I am hyped for this one, and I know a lot of people loved Saints and Misfits, so really excited for this. I love also a travel book, and this one very much so. From the cover, looks like there's going to be a lot of travel discourse also. And then lastly, I have Midsummers Mayhem by Rajani LaRocca. Basically, this is a retelling of A Midsummer's Night Dream, but a middle grade retelling, and also mixed with The Great British Break Off. It just looks and sounds so cute and great. So yeah, I love this cover so much. The main character, Mimi Maxon, she comes from a Indian American family, which I just think is cool also, like that representation. That is my BookCon and Book Expo haul. If there are any of these books in particular that you are excited for or that you've read already, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below, or if there are any books that you've recently picked up that you're most excited for, let me know, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye!